Hey, baseball world. We are finally here with your 2024 post World Series edition of the Beat Ball Blue Show. I have been downgraded, and once again, I'm just simply Neil DAWG. However, that dude right there, right over there, that I cannot see on Zoom is still Dr. Bam Bam Clark. What up, Seth Dog?
Neil Dog, I want to recount. Can't
Uh,
believe they certified that election. I thought
Fake
there was
news.
fraud. It was fraud. Fake news.
Fake
Yeah,
news. I
they
was cheated.
they cheated. They took those results in and changed those results. Neil Dog, we can't trust elections anymore. Come on,
It
come
kind
on.
of, I guess, messed up where I was going to start to go with the show. I'll tell you, we got good news. Well, the title of the show is "Good, Bad, and Disappointing News." So we'll get to the disappointing stuff way at the end. But I was going to give you a choice of good news or bad news.
This means I
Which
can't keep going on the fake election and stuff like that.
I mean, you
How,
can, but
how we how we how
it
we
kind
how
of
we, how we need a dictator? Blake Boudreaux.
Whoa,
uh,
random
uh,
shot fired.
yeah.
Snipe.
uh, so yes, that was out of line. Yeah,
on
okay.
on our Sirens team, Caitlin Overshiner, last year's female rookie of the year, is our short left player, and Kalari plays the mid left, and she was our two shorts played well for us in the World Series, and Kalari started calling Caitlin snipe, or little snipe. And when you fired off that unexpected shot at the former president, I was like, whoa, snipe. Snipe.
Yes,
But yeah,
I
you cut into. I was going to ask you if you want to hear the good news or the bad news first.
I will. I Neil. I guess. Give me the bad news.
And I guess that's where I jumped in because cat's out of the bag. Seth Dog, I'm not president. I didn't quite get elected in as the MBBA president.
No,
Yeah.
say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Say it.
Disappointingly true. It wasn't even. In my opinion, kind of got whooped. Kind of got whooped, Seth Dog.
You know. Hey, again, I protest. I don't even protest. I think it's so silly that you don't vote at the assembly. You literally had 130 people vote out of 20 teams, right? There should have been more votes, but
To make
you know
that number sound worse,
uh,
507 registered members, 130 vote,
that
130 something votes.
that is absolutely ridiculous.
Very
Uh,
disappointing.
no, that is, people, you kept talking about, oh, well, let's get a sense of the league. Well, can you get a sense of the league? The league don't vote, right? They sit there and they don't vote. Um,
What's that? A third? Not even
uh,
nearly. That was closer to a quarter, right?
uh,
130 of 570. So it's a little bit above a quarter, but not by much.
all
By a
right.
smidgen.
We've had 130 people on this show, Neil Dog. You should at least got their votes, man. Come on now. And then I can't remember what my B was. My B was something, man. My B was something. I can't remember where I was. I lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
but yeah, the current president received 78 votes, and I received 49 total votes. That dog.
Yes, if you just would have got, what is that, like if you just would have got like 16, 17 people to change their votes, you'd be president.
True. Of all the
There
people that
you
told me they were going to vote for it,
go.
if the number of teams that told me they were going to vote for me voted
All
for me,
right.
I would have been in the fight. but
That's crazy.
but it wasn't meant to be, apparently. and frankly, and I guess we'll dive more into the disappointing stuff later, but it's been hard to feel disappointed this week considering
Yeah.
everything going on and all the things that need to be shuffled through and dealt with. I would be there doing my job, but
Uh,
I have not lost sleep over the fact that I haven't had to.
oh, that's true. Though perhaps we would have heard from you as president by now. I'm thinking, perhaps you might have said something,
Something. Well,
something.
I am
So,
gonna say something.
yes, yes, yes.
I
But
promise that I am
as
gonna say something.
as in an official capacity.
Right.
In reading Beatball Nation, they're like, oh, this isn't the forum for anybody to, for the board to come out and say anything. I was like, you go, people do have team contact pages, right? The president and the board could email
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
all
yeah,
the team contacts and not say a word on social media.
yeah.
Am I right about that?
You're a
They
hundred
could,
hundred percent
yeah,
correct. And
right.
I've been saying even before I was nominated to be president, I was saying that, as valuable as I think Beatball Nation is, I don't think that's where the MBBA should put its official. I mean, they could duplicate it there, but
Right.
that's not the official way of doing the
No,
league business.
especially when you can reach out to team contacts immediately. So I do believe if you were president, Neil Dye, you would have perhaps communicated more
The
effectively over this
membership would
last week.
have heard from me
Yes,
by this point.
I believe that wholeheartedly. Well, so
Absolutely true. Some, I guess, numbers that I feel like are relevant for the next statement in regards to the show. We did 4 episodes in like the last 2 weeks before the World Series, and because it's such a small community, and I never know like how much is too much for to put out there in a small community content wise. The last 4 like live videos is where we get the majority of our love. The last 4 videos, and I haven't even checked since sometime over this past weekend. I think it's been about a week. Combined had around 2,500 views.
wow.
And the one we did with our boys, the very last one, the last I checked was at like 650. Now, as far as like shows go, whatever, I don't have my head in the clouds. So I realize no advertisers are sitting around and go, wow, this show's blowing up. But again, when you got a membership of 507 people and we're doing 500 plus views on the shows, I guess I feel like the people kind of spoken, you know what I mean? 49 against 2,500. I guess they have a preference of what I should be involved in going forward.
Oh, remember, Neil, the people watch the show so they could you know hate on me, man. I'm the controversy ones, right? They listen to see if I say anything silly or whatever. So it's not you, Neil Dog.
Well,
It's
whatever
me, man.
works.
I'm the
Whatever
I'm
works.
the star, Neil Dog. Just joking. Just
Yeah.
joking, Neil
Uh, a-
Dog.
Again, like 2,500 views, whoever it's for, it doesn't quite get into star category, but
Oh, what you talking about? I'm a star, man. That's 2,500 views, man.
but I guess that's where the good news comes in is we aren't going anywhere. I know there was an announcement made by me and me only that this would be it for the Beatball Blues show. And I guess I felt like I for one, we've been doing it for quite a while, and two, with changes I'm expecting to come in my life over this next year, I thought that maybe it wouldn't be a good fit, but even before I lost the race for presidency, I was already starting to feel like I regretted that. A few people had reached out, offering to kind of take the show
Yeah,
over or
hopefully,
asking if they could.
like 49.
49 what?
people reached out.
Oh, not only a couple, only a
Okay.
couple. But there are people interested in trying to take the reins and keep it going. And I didn't commit to anything because I really still was just feeling, I don't know. I didn't feel comfortable with just letting it go. I mean, it's a small thing we've built here, but we've kind of built something here over the last 4 years. And the thought of just dropping it and running, like that wasn't sitting right with me. So, man, we aren't going anywhere, Seth Dog. Whether you want to quit or not, you don't have a choice.
Well, it's pretty hard. We only got 49 people we can actually interview anymore. So,
Just got to figure out who they are.
yeah, exactly. I got to ask it. Pre-show interview process, my friend. Pre-show interview process. You
I'm going
know.
to need your voting token so that
Yes,
I can go check the
exactly.
records.
Exactly. Come on now. No, you know. Uh,
So who knows what it's going to be like going forward. I mean,
Oh, I know.
it'll
I
be
know. I
what?
know.
What?
I hear Beatball Jeopardy coming. Beatball
All
Jeopardy.
right, I changed my mind. The
I'm
show's
start.
coming to an end.
I'm gonna start writing my questions now, man. Bam Bam's hosting Beatball Jeopardy. Yay!
If you would take on the questions and hosting it, I promise you we'll do it.
Okay, I
But
will
you're a
do it.
big talker. You
I
say you'll do
will
that.
do it. Consider it. Consider it done. Consider it done. Consider it done. Consider
Excellent.
it done. Yes. Just just like Demo guaranteed he'd be playing on Saturday, and he was. I saw him. I watched him, but he
Yeah,
was right. So,
I'd
well,
say
I will get this done.
but I kind of took a shot at him when he said that. It's like, yeah, we'll be watching. We'll all be watching
Yeah,
Demo, but
right.
there's Demo out there scoring runs in the
Right.
championship game, man. So
Coming out there like he's like he a baller or something. Like he big baller Demo, man, out there 2 for 2, right? Or something like that. I don't know.
something I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know the
know. Yeah, you
numbers,
know.
but
I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure I saw him score 2 runs.
Yeah,
So
and he definitely scored 2 runs. I don't know if that was his only,
uh,
if those were his only 2 runs or whatever.
uh,
But yeah, so guaranteed, deep beat ball Jeopardy. Put it on your schedule. Put it on your schedule.
excellent. Excellent. I look forward to that.
Yay, good. I was gonna say I ain't doing the show unless we do beat ball Jeopardy. So yay.
So we are going to be coming around. We're going to get things going with folks other than just Seth and I after this. I've been in touch with a few players on the Fire who want to come on and celebrate their championship. Congratulations to them. First time an East Coast team. I guess like a true East Coast team has won the championship. Were you aware of that?
No, not until I was listening to the broadcast or whatever, but I had no idea.
I guess, and
Uh,
I realize Indiana is like more like in the central part of
it's a
America.
Midwestern town city,
Yeah.
or state.
But because they're like time wise, they go on Eastern Standard Time. Like I feel like they're not an East Coast team,
No, they're not.
but
They're not. They
they
have
should be on
no.
Central Time if
They,
they're in the Midwest.
they don't have any connection to the coast. You know,
True,
it's as
true.
odd as UC Berkeley Cal playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference, man.
Yeah, right.
No sense whatsoever. So, but
My
yes,
my UCLA Bruins are now in the Big Ten.
yeah.
It's kind of disappointing to me, especially I think I'll feel it more when college basketball starts, like UCLA not playing Arizona anymore or what,
All right.
that's I don't know. That was a big rival. So, anyways, that's
Yeah.
neither here
Neither
nor
here nor
there, but
yes.
uh
Congratulations to the Philly Fire.
shout out.
I was pulling. I was pulling for him. You know, I was. You know, I was. I'm an underdog sort of person, and I kind of felt like, and people threw that at the dogs. That they were pulled people in and made a super team and stuff like that. and I kind of felt that about the Archer. So I was pulling for the homegrown talent of the Philly Fire. So
I've just been a fan of Philly for the last few years. I took a lot of heat for it last year, but when I put out my own rankings last year, I had them ranked number two.
yeah, well,
Um,
you were wrong last year.
yeah,
So
true,
yeah.
true. Not by much, though. Not by much. But
Now if you would have picked them to win the championship this year, now you would have done something, Neil Dog. We'd be, we'd be like, wow, that Neil Dog right there, boy. Meatball extraordinaire right there, man.
the
So
money man.
yeah, right.
Uh,
So,
No,
but
no,
now you just
I don't. I just like their product. I like, most of the play. I want to say like most of their play. I don't know all their players, but the ones I do, I know a lot of that team, and I've enjoyed my interaction with all of them. I look forward to having them on the show. But no, it's a very impressive tournament by them, especially because like last year, Casey Kraus. He made the all tournament team. It was, this only his third year. So last year in his second year, he made the all tourney team on offense and defense, and has become one of the really top shortstops. Short left players. But earlier, I think it was at the Indiana tournament. I'm not positive. I know at the Chicago, at the Bolingbrook Bash or whatever. It's not the Bash, but the Bolingbrook tournament. He was there in a sling, so he separated his shoulder before that, and he had just gotten clearance like a week or two before the World Series to play, and he separated his shoulder again early in the World Series, and he played through it, dude. He played through it like he was playing with some kind of sling or something that was kind of holding it in place on defense. But man, he made the all tournament team on offense, playing with a separated shoulder. His mom, I didn't know before, but his mom's a physical therapist, and so she was keeping an eye on it. And the word I got was like you said, look, you're not going to hurt it any worse. It's already done. So, dude played through it, man, and he got moved to short right, and Tyler Rodriguez played up at short left. So when you consider, you know what I mean, like we won championships, and had Eric separated his shoulder and had to be moved to short right, and you guys moved me to short left. Would you feel confident we were going to win a championship? Probably not.
yes, I would.
So, uh,
I would.
uh,
Come on now. Come on
uh,
now. So what you
if
talking about, dude? What you talking about, Willis?
I was there, I'd give you a hug right now.
Yeah, come on now. You know
But
me.
I don't know. That's a tall order, and they answered the bell. Our buddy Nick Silver made the all tournament team on offense. Johnny Ma, the MVP. So no, I mean it was a very impressive tournament by them. They in the undefeated game on Friday, they were down like 9-3 to the Archers and ended up winning that game 17-9. You don't see turnarounds like that in beat ball very often in one game. That was an impressive turnaround. I missed a lot of it. We because we played our last game Friday morning. And so we went, most of us, not everybody, but most of us went out to breakfast. And I think it was Cassandra, our general manager, had the game on her phone, but I was down like 4 seats from where she was sitting. So I was just kind of getting updates on the score. So when we were leaving the restaurant, um, the score was 9-3, and we got out to the fields, and I thought I lost my wallet. So I was in like a little panic. Had people running all around the parking lot, and I rode with Bailey, Badger, our one of our coaches, and our left field spotter had them running out to the car, whatever. So you know what I mean. My mind was in a different place. I was at the field, but I wasn't paying attention to the game. And when I heard the score was 17-9, it's like, oh, I guess the Archers going to the championship game. I didn't even realize that Philly had come back and won that game. I feel bad because I saw Jason Frazier walking by. I was like, "Hey, Jay," and I just found my wallet. Bailey found it in her car. I'd just gotten it back, and Jason went walking by. I was like, "Hey, Jace, how's it going?" He's like, it's good till about 20 minutes ago." It's like, wonder what that's about. I was lost in my own world. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be stuck here in St. Louis forever. I got no ID, not got
Yeah,
no
right.
money. Like, so I was really in a panic while all that went on or
No, I
whatever.
can
But
imagine. No, no, yeah. So
anyways,
yeah, no, yeah. So
no,
awesome. I
so
know, right? I didn't see. I didn't watch much beatball. Shocking, but true. Um,
I was shocked because even though I was at the championship game, I went ahead and pulled up the live stream, and there was quite a few people there. Like I saw as many as like 130 people like on the live stream at one point, which is a pretty good live crowd for our game. And when I saw it, it's like Seth Clark and 118 people are listening right well, along with you. I'm like, Seth Clark,
all
what?
right.
Wonder if he got hacked.
They
Somebody
might
hacked it. Somebody hacked his computer.
they might have lost me if they had to go to the second game, but I was down with the first game. So that's the worst thing about the World Series. That thing right there, having being the two games or whatever. We talked about it before. It'd be way better if you just had one championship game, man. But
Yeah.
but I know it's impossible.
Well, it's not impossible, but it's not going to change. I mean,
Improbable. Improbable. Improbable.
right. I've
Yeah. No.
I've presented a possible format that would narrow us down to just like two teams at the end, like having two different brackets, bracket
Uh,
A and bracket B, not like top half of the league and bottom half, but breaking up, like say in this case, the 20 teams, 10 teams would have been in the not, not again, not like top 10 and bottom 10, but dividing it more evenly to where there'd be 10 teams in bracket A and 10 teams in bracket B. They play a double elimination tournament, and then the two teams that survive those two brackets face each other in a championship game. And I do think that would be more marketable for like more appealing to like somebody like ESPN, considering airing our championship game rather than the prospect of maybe we're going to have two games to
uh,
determine. I do think that that would be a more marketable setting, but when I presented it on the show and threw it at you, like and you agreed with me, even if we set it up that way, these knuckleheads then would want to play like 2 out of 3 rather than just have the one game. They'd want to do a best 2 out of 3
uh,
scenario.
uh,
It wouldn't work out the way I'm saying anyways, probably, but it doesn't seem like there's any legs for changing the format too much, even though there's
no.
a lot of talk. So, but going all the way back to when I started playing the game, like I had never been part of any double elimination tournaments of any kind in my growing up and being around sports my whole life. So the whole idea of getting to the championship day and the possibility of two games, you know what I mean? That always was weird to me, even though I totally understand it now.
Uh, uh.
It's always been a weird thing to go into. We might play one, we might play two.
It's a nice day. Let's play
Anyways,
too.
um, I got all the, sorry, I'm looking for the cap to my water before I knock it all over my computer
Oh,
desk. Um, so I got all the results and everything. I want to run them down for everybody. Just in case the 1% chance you're somebody that doesn't know. I guess your mom and dad probably don't know them yet, so we'll run them down for them. Um, but
Actually, to be honest, I don't know it.
all right, cool.
I've never
Uh,
heard it. They didn't. Nobody really update. I just watched Beatball Nation or whatever. Nobody
yeah,
updated scores. Nobody did anything.
because that's what I used to do
I
when I was
know.
here
I
at
know.
home. I'd collect all the scores and post them. But
Nobody
uh,
did that. So I was mucho lost. So.
But I guess just some thoughts on the tournament itself. It was really a nice tournament. The fields were really nice. Mind's Eye Radio and the St. Louis Lighthouse for the Blind, I thought put on a real like classy tournament. They had just a lot like Jackie Joyner Kersey out throwing the first pitch at the Wool game, and Benji Molina out at the championship game, and I don't know, just like, lot of free lunches donated throughout the week. I don't know, it was a classy tournament. Um, I guess we'll touch on some of the less classy stuff that went on at the end. But that none of that falls on Mind's Eye Radio or St. Louis Lighthouse for the Blind or the city of St. Louis for that matter, or St. Charles, where the tournament was actually the fields were located in St. Charles, right outside of St. Louis. I've got my tournament shirt on right now. Oh, you know what? One cool thing they did with tournament shirts, I didn't take advantage of it. But you could get your name and number put on the tournament shirt if you wanted to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
10 extra bucks, and you know me, I'm cheap. So
All right.
I didn't have my name or my number put on the shirt, but
I don't have any tournament shirts. My mom would always buy. She has like a shirt from all the
right,
World Series she went to, and she would buy the kids tournament shirts.
right.
And but I've never. I don't think I've never had one. I
I
don't.
I I always got tournament shirts, but I also always wore them, so I wore a lot of them out. You know, some of them have
Right.
been thrown out over the years. But ironically, it's been over a year since my dad passed away, but because of things going on in our family, it's taken us a while to get his house cleared out and sold. But my sister just a couple months ago brought over a bunch of stuff for me that, going through the house considered to be kind of my stuff. I actually got extra Braille writer if you want it, Sepdog.
Oh, I
Yeah,
do.
because my mom had become a Braille transcriber back in the day, so I got my mom's Braille writer.
You got
Um,
paper?
I, dude, when I like 30 years ago, I bought a box with like 500 sheets in it, and I've only got about 30 left, but I'm still working out of that same box, man. The paper's all old and decayed. I gotta clean the dust off it when I use it. So
Uh,
the pay. Sorry, I can't spare a square.
all right.
You remember that?
Yes,
From
from the Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. No.
yeah. I
I
can't.
yeah, no. I'll take your. I've always said, hey, I have a use for a Braille writer, but I don't really know if I have a use for a Braille writer. I think I have some projections or whatever, but I might try it and it might not work out. So there'd be no real use to it. But
I do
I
not have use for two braille writers, so
yeah, right.
you're more than welcome to have this extra. But where I was going with that, I used to always buy my parents' shirts when I was at the
All
World
right.
Series, and I don't know where all the rest were, but my sister brought over like three tournament shirts that my dad. They're all like good shape, never been worn.
Yeah, right. Right.
So, and one of them's from 1999, our tournament here in Sacramento. So I wore out my 1999 tournament shirt years ago. I still have it, but it's worn and faded. So I got brand new 1999 tournament shirts. That dog.
Party like a 1999.
Yeah. You know,
When they were
go
when
ahead.
you were a young man, Neil Dog. When you were a young man.
Speaking
Yeah.
of when we were both young, so I told you there's something I was gonna throw at you just for fun. Uh, you know who was at the World Series this year for the first time in forever, I think.
For the first time
J
in forever.
Jared Woodard's sisters, both Amanda and Jennifer were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Amanda, I never got a chance to talk to Amanda, but I ran into Jennifer like 10 times. She saw me in the parking lot, threatened to run me over.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Jennifer forever. We used to we were Facebook friends, and she would send me a message asking about my dad, and she would call my dad and stuff like that. I haven't
No
talked
way.
to her. Yeah, oh yeah, she
I
loved
didn't
my
realize
dad.
that. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
no, so she would call my dad and stuff like that.
I'm friends with her on Facebook also, but she and like three other people I know, Jennifer, all have like married names now. And
All
sometimes
right,
when I see their names, like I mix up who's who. Like I'm not
right.
sure what her last name is now or whatever. But I know there have been times when she's like sent me not recently, but there have been times when she sent me messages on Facebook, and I'm like, who is that? Oh, now
It's funny
now I got it.
they're in their 40s now, right?
I mean, they
No,
gotta
no,
be.
I mean, yeah, they be in their 30s, I guess.
I don't know why I remember this, but because they started following us around. I don't know why this stands out to me so much, but during the 95 tournament, and I
Right,
remember
right.
Amanda was like 11 and Jennifer was 7. So that was
Okay.
29 years ago.
Uh,
So I guess mid 30s is about
uh,
40, right in there, 30, 35, 36
well, glad
to
to know
40.
they're still out there kicking, man. It's good to know. Good to know.
No, I mean I've always been like kind of like not just them, but like I mean Amanda, Jennifer, Jared, and their cousin Lindsay followed us around religiously there for a few years. So like and Lindsay and Jared were literally like toddlers pretty much at the time. They just followed their cousins everywhere. But I've always thought of them fondly because like we literally couldn't get through the lobby without them popping up on us, right?
Yeah, right. No,
So,
they were good.
so
Yes, they were definitely dog fans.
anyways, it was cool to see Jennifer. Again, I didn't get a chance to say hi to Amanda, but it was she Jennifer told me she was out there, so I thought that was all cool. All right, man. Let's dive in. Let's run down the final standings. Obviously, the Philly Fire is who we start with. They went 8-0 to win the championship. Congrats. The Archers went 7-2. Both of their losses coming to Gateway. Good. I thought it was a good championship game overall. Took the Archers a little while to get going, but I wondered ahead of time if that might be the case, just because I guess more than anything, like for Mike Curtis, you know what I mean? It's his
Ah,
first time.
you could say
Like,
that, man, but they gave up 10 runs in the first inning. That
no,
wasn't
that's
on Mike
true.
Curtis. But Mike Curtis obviously had his, and where the offense is never, had their struggles. But hell, they went down 10 runs in the
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
inning, man. It's
yeah.
like, hey, that's on y'all, man.
And well, and I wasn't, believe me, I wasn't like trying to point a
No,
finger
no,
at Mike
I know,
Curtis,
I
but
hear you.
people were asking me ahead of time who I thought would win. And I won't lie, I was predicting the Thunder and Archers to face off with each other. And I thought the Thunder's experience might play out. Mike Curtis has had a fantastic year as their full-time pitcher. But this was his first time pitching 5 days in a row
Right,
for the most part and in big games. And I think there's a learning
right,
process to that. We learned that when we got to the 98 championship. I
no,
was nervous for 4 innings,
and he did it.
right? And
No,
so
and
even
he
though,
had problems. He had his struggles. And his team. Again, it's always the we do, like I said, when Demo was on here, we put so much focus on the pitchers, and because they are such a huge part of the game. Um, and
no,
I did expect that he would struggle, and he did struggle at times. But you make his job so much harder when you give up 10
no, that
runs in
does
the
put a
first.
lot of pressure. No, I honestly, everything's a blur once it's all over to me. So I'm glad you remembered that. Like, second, third inning, there was possibilities of a run rule. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
It was getting close to that line.
Uh,
So they really did a good job of
uh,
fighting back. Um, And I think that's a really good defense or whatever, but obviously they struggled a little bit. The field they played on, because those fields were really, really nice and they're great defensive fields. But the field where the championship game was played, like no games were played on that field all
Or
week, and I did wonder if maybe that field was a little bit different because it did seem to play a little faster than the other fields we're playing. But that's speculation on my part. I don't know that that's what the case was. Either way, it was a really good year for the Archers overall. They've taken a lot of heat the last 2 years for underachieving, and I don't consider them finishing second underachieving at all. And I believe they will be back for more. So
I know we're not, supposed to bring up controversial topics and stuff like that, but you don't consider it underachieving, right? I mean,
finishing,
what finishing
I mean
second,
they
right? I
they've
mean,
they've
we're I mean
finished.
when they signed all those people, right? The idea was, man, they're going to win the championship. And then things seemed to towards the end, kind of the rail or the train seemed to go off the rails a little bit. They didn't even get the number one seed or anything.
Well, that's
But
not on them though. They can vote
no, no,
themselves to the number one seed.
no, no. But again, if they win all their tournaments, do all that stuff, then they could have gotten that number one seed. I'm just saying that the expectations were that championship, and with the moves they made, it was that championship. And being in their home state, their home city,
Yeah.
it was that championship. I mean, you don't see that as underachieving. I mean, clearly it's falling short, but you also don't see that as underachieving a tad bit.
Uh, I don't because I didn't think that those signings guaranteed championship. It just gave them it made them a contender. But I
Right.
don't feel like making them a contender means they have to win a championship.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah.
Thunder's still a good team, the Fire's still a good team, the Edge still a good team. You know what I mean? Nothing guarantees a championship. You still got to go out and win the games. And I assume you know this, maybe not or whatever, but David Smith,
Right.
one of those
Yeah.
players they picked up, almost missed the tournament. He
Right.
went in because he about a week before the tournament because he was experiencing some discomfort, and they found a mass. And there was a big question whether or not D. Smith would even be able to be in the tournament. And he showed up and he played all the way through it. So it's not they faced some adversity. The group was playing together. I know they played in a lot of games this summer or whatever. They played in a lot of tournaments, but they were playing in the World Series with this group for the first time, and again making a run to the championship game. There's nothing underachieving to that for me personally.
Right. And and I'm just being, overly critical as if we're like really, like we're talking about the NFL season after it's done.
Yeah, that's fair.
In from what you tell me in the undefeated game, they were up by 6 runs and never
Yeah,
scored another run.
yeah.
Right. And and gave up 17.
If
And
I have
then
those numbers right. I
right,
mean,
right.
that's the
No,
way,
exactly. Yeah, right. No, it's
it might,
100%.
yeah,
Right.
it might being out
100%.
to breakfast and having lost
Right.
my wallet. Like
And
I
to
might
the
not have
best of
that
your
exactly. Yeah,
memory,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
To the best of your memory, and then to come out in the first inning and let up 10 runs. I don't know, man. That that's something. That's something.
Well,
But I'm just
something to
being,
work on. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Obviously, they've got a good product, and I expect them to be back. So I
Right.
don't know.
Right. No, go ahead. So,
All right.
so run it down. Who finished third? Bayou City. What time is it?
Not yet. The Indy Thunder finished third. They went 7-2. Indy Edge went 6-2, taking fourth. Bayou City Heat went what they go? 7-2, finishing fifth. I thought that was a good finish for them. I mean, I guess, they were expected to be 5, 6, right in that range, but I thought maybe giving them five was a little high because of the players they had lost. I know they ended up getting Tanner back. They replaced Chikori and Joe Fleeks with like rookies, and They had Mike Coughlin as their short left previously, and then Flores stepped up there. He's always been a better than average defensive player, but I wasn't sure if he had it in him to like carry a top five team or whatever. But they played well, finishing fifth. The new
The reality is though,
well,
they ain't finished higher than third since I left the team. Right? It was me. It
uh,
was me. It was me. That was it. It
uh,
was me. It was Neil Dog. It was me.
obviously a
So,
connection that
yeah, they're always man.
they need
Yes,
to join back.
yes. All those other guys were still there. Daryl, Tanner. They didn't go back to the championship game. I wasn't there. That's right. Oh, sure. But go
Or
ahead.
Trajan. Or
Or
Trajan.
Trajan.
Yeah.
Or Trajan actually wasn't there when we went to the championship game. The
He
one,
wasn't? I
no,
thought he spotted in that game.
nope. The one tournament Trajan did not go to in his life, we went to the championship game. It was depressing. I was depressed going into the championship game. It's like, really?
I
Like
thought
Trajan.
I thought
Uh,
for sure that was the year when like after the banquet you guys had your own little midnight game and that's when
uh,
Trajan started pitching.
Uh, that was that was the next year,
All right.
and that's why we were I drank Trajan didn't obviously, but I partied. And I was like, man, you know what? We're going to the championship game no matter what, because I had always told him we can't go to the championship game until we're playing in it, and then we finally played it, and he's not there, and I was like, man, Trajan, we're going to the championship game, and I'm up till like 3:30, 4 in the morning drinking. And I get back to the room. At some point, well, when I dropped him off at the room, he had been partying with us. He was old enough to party with us. He wasn't drinking or anything,
Yeah,
but
careful how you word it. Saying he's partying makes it
yeah,
sound like he was partying. He was
yeah,
just
no,
there
yeah,
while you guys were partying.
yeah. I mean, Trader doesn't drink. He doesn't do anything like that. He was just there. But I got fairly inebriated, and I remember dropping him back off at the room, and I was going back down. He's like, "Man, remember, we're going to that championship game tomorrow." I was like, "Yeah, don't worry, Trader." And I got up at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I was at that championship game. But I'm sorry, we
Yeah, right.
digress. But let's go. Keep going, man. Roll
All
through the
right.
state.
New Jersey Titans finished
Oh, tighten
sixth.
up. Tighten up.
Chicago Comets finished seventh. You
Well,
know that
they're still finishing in the middle of the pack.
they actually that's
I'm
I felt
joking.
like they had a really good tournament to finish seventh. I didn't expect that so much. Going into the year, I didn't expect
Right.
that out of them. They did. I like this new defense they have, and they seem to adapt to it really well. And they played without Bill Landrum. He had family demands that
Mm.
kept him out of the tournament, and he had been one of the top mid players all summer long, at least in the tournaments he played in. So that was a big loss for them. But they finished well, and remember when we had Rob Wiseman on talking like when he ran down his numbers
Yeah.
of the best teams of this like the last 18 years basically. Um, he told us that the next time Chicago finished in the top 10, they were going to pass the West Coast Dogs. I think we were sixth on his list and they were seventh. So, and I was like, oh, well, if they got to finish in the top 10, we're going to be all right. Well, they smashed us. They bumped up ahead of us, man. So shout out to the Comets. They had a really good tournament. Another one that was a big surprise for me, the Cleveland Scrappers finishing eighth. They finished 13th last year. They lost Rob Wygant, who was one of their top players on offense. Yeah, Wygant. Um, it's mixing up Wiseman and Wygant, or I thought I did, but Rob Wygant was one of their top players on offense and defense last year. And they didn't have him. They didn't have Dan Kelly, who didn't put up huge numbers, but I think he finished like third in putouts on their team a year ago. So I didn't think I thought 13 meeting 13 again was a stretch for them, and they shut me the hell up. So oh yeah, by the way, because it's the Cleveland player Antonio. I've got to memorize this kid's last name that brought Wilbert Turner over to me last year. Remember that? And
Yeah,
Wilbert's
yeah,
like, "You told me Bam Bam was over here or
yeah,
whatever." Antonio made it clear to me. He's like, look, I told him it was Neil Dog. That's on Wilbert. That was on Wilbert that he thought it was Bam Bam. I actually got to see Wilbert Turner at the championship game and hang out with him for a few minutes, so that was cool. But that was a really good finish for the Cleveland team. So shout out to them. Boston Renegades dropped from 5 to 9, which is a bit of a surprise because they finished fifth last year with a couple of their top players not being real healthy. So a return to top five was kind of expected, I think. So the ninth place finish for them surprising. Tyler Tigers matched their finish of a year ago at 10th. Austin Blackhawks for a second year in a row finish outside the top 10 at number 11. The Oklahoma Lookouts move up a few spots. I think they finished 15th last year, maybe 14th, but I think they finished 15th. They finished 12th this year. Minnesota Millers 13th. I did not give them a lot of credit to get in the top 15. They're one of the teams I think before the World Series. I was like, man, I hope my Sirens get a shot at them. I think we could take the Millers maybe, but they had a good tournament, finishing like 13th. Good for them, I think.
I laugh again, me being critical. I'm in my critical mood today. You can't, the top 15 only really has meaning when there's like 100 teams.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I realized like good finish, 13. Like there's never a day that you and I would be happy with 13th. Uh, but but being that I really didn't think they were gonna be top
No, I
15, they
hear
did
you.
all right.
I'm just making fun.
I got you.
I'm
BCS
just having fun.
BCS Outlaws take 14th. They weren't there last year, but they were 12th the last time they were at the World Series. They took 14th. The Atlanta Chaos, 15th, which is close. I think they were 14 a year ago, so they dropped down a spot. Houston Hurricanes dropped from 8 to 16. It's weird. Last year, I kind of expected them to be outside the top 10, and they finished in the top 8. And I think my pre-tournament ranking had them around 11, but they dropped down to 16.
I heard that John Parker's age finally caught up with them, so I'm hopeful.
uh, That's me. John Parker's my buddy again, so I shouldn't say again. I never would. Yeah, right. I
Yeah,
should
y'all didn't talk about that. Y'all didn't talk about the big fight and
should put
all
it
that.
that way. But Parker and I are on good terms, so don't go running your mouth.
I'm just saying he's gotten older. That's all. Just go ahead.
Here's another the Boston Strong playing in their first tournament ever. Took 17th. We played them for 17th. They beat us 1-0, which means
Mm.
my Sirens beat ball. Finished 18th this year. Got our first win ever,
Wow,
which was
congratulations.
pretty exciting actually. Honestly, dude, I was emotional after that game. Like I was after we won our championship in 1999. Like that the 1999 tournament's the only one that really made me feel emotional like after we won it. But I felt that same emotion after we got that first win. You should have seen me and Kalari Jackson out there in the field hugging and crying. Man, we were like embraced for like 3-4 minutes, just standing there crying. We were pretty happy. The Braille Bandits got their second win of all time, finishing 1-6, getting 19th. And unfortunately for California, the San Gabriel Valley Panthers went 0-4. That's who we got our win over, beating them 2-1. They finished 20th. And that is how the 20 teams played out. Let's look at the awards on offense. We already talked about this quite a bit. John Margis hit 718, get his MVP. Shout out Johnny Ma. Hopefully, we're going to have him on the show here pretty soon. Tanner Jers, Bayou City Heat, says this is his last year at second best average. Hit a home run in the tournament this year. Justin Holland of the Gateway Archers had the third best average. Casey Krause with his separated shoulder had the fourth best average. Mark Morris of the Gateway Archers and Nick Silver. Let me look at the averages. Who are the two? All right, so Casey Krause and Mark Morris tied with 629, and then Nick Silver hit 621 to round up the offensive team. On defense, for the shorties, because now we got the two shorts, two mids, and two deeps. Stanley Griffith of the Cleveland Scrappers had 67 putouts in 10 games. Those are like Ray Marshall numbers. I haven't
Yeah,
heard
right.
anybody up in the 60s in years.
Yeah, right.
They averaged 6.7 putouts. Darius Sterling was very close behind him. Hit 6.714 or 6.714. Let me go back to Stanley. That doesn't make sense. So Stanley was 66.8. So he had 68 putouts in 10 games. Then Day Sterling of the Blackhawks was our other shorty at 6.714. For the mids, Richard Schultz had to step up with Bill Landrum out, and he was the MVP of the mids, and he averaged 3.75 from the mid, and second best was Cox of the Thunder at 2 per game. So, I mean, Schultz had a really dominating tournament at the mid spot. I didn't know this, but I spent some time talking to JT Herzog, and he's always said apparently it's like, we never know until we start playing if we got good Richie or bad Richie. So luckily we had good Richie all week this week. So shout out to Schultz. He had a great tournament. On the deeps, comedian See No Evil, Zephyrin Victor was the MVP of the deeps, and Josh Shawn of the Minnesota Millers was our other deep. And then even though back at the
No
March board,
numbers on them. Uh, uh,
2.714 for Zephyrin and 1.44 for um, Josh Shawn of the Millers. And then, even though back at the March board meeting, they announced they were not going to do a utility player, they're going to give this seventh award to the player that was the best all-around player on offense and defense without making either alternate team, but instead it's a utility player, Justin Romack of the BCS Outlaws. I might have said BSO earlier, but BCS. Brian College Station Outlaws was our utility players at 2.667. And that rounds out the offensive and defensive teams. Our pitcher catcher, Jared Woodard and Darnell Booker from the Indy Thunder. And the spotter award went to the Austin Blackhawks. What they 66.9? Am I hearing that right?
I don't know.
67.9. 67.9 was their fielding percentage.
Do you
I'm
have
happy.
hey, do you have a producer over there that I didn't know about? Or
Yeah, Jaws. Mr. Jaws. Now that I'm using headphones that have both sides at work, I need to learn how to split because on Zoom there's a way to split to where I could hear Jaws in one ear and you in the other ear. And I've forgotten how to do that because I haven't had headphones that work on both sides until recently. So I guess I need to get that figured out. So this one could be a little more smooth. The male rookie of the year. Uh, Noah Finney of Bayou City Heat. Dude had 2 home runs. I think I don't know if this is right. I think he's only like 16, 17 years old. So that dog, good
yeah,
old,
he's
big old
really young.
football player. They
Uh,
had two rookies. Grant Simpson also, who had a really solid year for the Heat. But I believe there was only 4 home runs hit this year, and 3 of them came from the Heat. I
all
think
right,
Eric Rodriguez hit his first at the World Series.
big
Uh,
Fonzie.
yeah, big
Fonz up.
Fonzie, man, with got 3 home runs out of his playing 2 from a rookie. That's really impressive. Like everybody expected Noah Finney to have a good year, but I don't know they were expecting that.
And
So that was impressive.
he's a bam bam guy, man. He hit the ball over 180 feet.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
I had not heard that. I think I saw that one of them was 174. Like
I thought it was
before.
180 for, but maybe I saw it weird. I was tripping then.
maybe it was both though. Maybe I saw one and you saw the other. Dude had
Hey,
two. He
could
already
be.
has one more than you career
Yeah,
wise.
well, that's true. That's true.
Although I don't know, John Parker seems to be convinced you hit a home run against Topeka, so maybe you have two and they never told us that, dog.
Like I said, though, if I would have had Fonzie pitching to me back then, I would have a lot more than one.
If I
Let
would
me
have, should
let
have,
me let me just guarantee you that.
if I
I
would
know.
have, should have,
Hey,
could
I
have.
know. I'm just saying. Some of us were, some of us were blessed, my sports line. At least Landry has a good luck, the Trajan. We have to deal with things. But go ahead.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
uh, Personal little source of pride. Our Sirens finished seventh in the spotters race.
That's pretty good.
There are only seven teams that fielded over 60%, and we were the seventh. The Cleveland Scrappers were at like 6.16, and we finished at 6.15. I was really, really, really proud of our defense in this tournament. Obviously, we got a ways to go on offense. It's going to be our focus this offseason, but I was so proud of how our defensive play. We held three teams to one run.
Mm.
We didn't. They weren't just handing over strikeouts. We were fielding the ball. Very proud of that.
You're the woman. You're the woman.
Where are
I'm
you going
sorry.
with that? I'm the woman. What?
I said year of
Oh, I'm
the woman.
sorry. I'm sure I'm not the only one that thought it. It sounded like you were saying, "You're the woman.
No,
You're the
no.
woman." It's like, whoa.
Year of the woman. Year of
I'm
the woman.
okay with that. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
last night or no, maybe this morning. I don't know. Recently on Twitter, I saw out of the 37, 36 medals the Americans have won in the Olympics thus far, 25 have come from the women's side. So
Yes, yes.
you're on the money there.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
Dan Tracy Award recipients, there are three of them: Cassie Hopkins, Glenn Hopkins, our buddy coach, and Knox Ward, who is Glenn Hopkins' grandson. I met him right before the tournament. Big old football player, like 6'6", big old dude. So the three of them combined to win the Dan Tracy Award. Here's our Hall of Fame class. Ethan Johnston, my boy, I'm very proud of him. Went into the Hall of Fame this year. Eric Rodriguez, only 24 years old. Dude's already had such a career. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Well deserved. I'm not, I'll make it sound like he's only 24. What's he doing going in? He deserves to be in there more than I do. So, shout out to Erod. His mom, Lisa Gilchrist, went in as a spotter. Darnell Booker goes in as a coach. Bob Bigger, you know Bob, right? Do you remember
Mm-hmm,
Bob, the pitcher
mm-hmm,
for Topeka? He
mm-hmm.
goes into the Hall of Fame. Chad Perry, pitcher, another longtime competitor of art, somebody we competed a lot against, goes into the Hall of Fame. JT Herzog goes in as a coach, and that's our Hall of Fame class. Kathy Quinn there's a new award. So we have the Jim Quinn Award, and now and where I was sitting at the banquet, if they made an announcement that gave more details about this, I did not hear it. But there's not just a Jim Quinn Award anymore. Now there's a Legacy of Jim Quinn Award. What the difference between the two is, I'm not sure. But Kathy Quinn, who is the daughter-in-law of Jim Quinn, she was married to Jim Quinn's son back in the day. Um, she receives that, and Michael Garrett, our boy, received
Uh,
the Jim Quinn Award. So shout out to Michael Garrett. I saw Michael at the tournament, but he wasn't at the banquet. So Fonzie received the award in on his behalf. But that's all our awards.
Good. There's a lot of them. Long
Yeah, right.
banquet.
Yeah, did take a while to run through those. Hold on a
uh,
second. I need to change something here.
what are you changing?
Just like getting into the Zoom area where when we're ready, I can end the show. I guess I didn't have to do that right now. So that is everything for the tournament itself. Again, shout out to Mindside Radio and to the St. Louis Lighthouse for the Blind and uh, uh, all their many sponsors is very well funded tournament, well supported tournament, and I don't know. I thought they threw a nice tournament. Unfortunately, it's no real secret around the beat ball world. It did end on some ugly notes, and I guess a lot of that is still being shuffled through. So I don't know. And a lot of what I know is come to me. I don't know privately, so I don't feel so much comfortable just diving into all of it. Um, but there were some concerning things, like a lot of stuff that went on at the hotel, um, like damage done to the hotel, stuff like that that it is concerning because it can have an effect on the tournament. Like our membership needs to realize. You know, you talked about partying at the World Series in this episode. I've talked about it before. I've enjoyed the camaraderie and rowdiness at the World Series, I guess, over the years as much as anybody, but I think some of it might have gone too far this year. And
No, not just this year, but yeah,
no,
as well as this year. But yeah, go
yeah, no, that's fair. No, I do. I think you're right. I know you're right. You know, it's gone too far before, but um, I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess the membership as a whole, and I think most people realize this, but you know, it can have an effect on hotels being willing to host our group. And it's something our whole membership needs to be mindful of because I mean, like this year, Seth, there was only one bid for the 2026 tournament, and even though it was not announced at General Assembly, but the room rates at the 2026 World Series are going to be $149 per night, which is a big jump. We've never, you know, it's $40 higher than what it is this year. When hotels consider jumping in to be part of hosting the tournament, they do like a 3 year history. You know, they contact previous hotels and get an idea. Like one of the reasons they're willing to bring their prices down for us and give us free meeting rooms and help with all that stuff, cut down on the costs is because of the amount. I mean, for one, it's a large group, and two, the amount of food and beverage that is done during that week is attractive to them. There's a lot of money in that. But if we go a little too far with the beverage side of that, it's going to become less attractive to hotels that are considering hosting our tournament. So I don't know. We'll see how everything pans out. I hope the damage, and I'm not like specifically talking about the damage to the hotel, but the damage that was done by some of the things that went on. Hopefully, it doesn't have too big of an impact, not just going forward in general, but next year, because for the first time ever, the same hotel is set to host the group 2 years in a row. We've never had that before. So I have not heard anything directly that that it could have an impact on next year, but it's always possible when things get a little too crazy. So I hope not, knock on wood, we're gonna be all right going forward. But as a membership, we do need to care about that because it's getting more expensive to go stay at the World Series, and if we lose our leverage, we have no negotiating power. The prices are only going to get higher. There is one part of the ugliness that I want to address, and it's not something that I'm just wanting to address now for the first time. It's something I've been talking to people about over the last few years, and uh, I guess now it's come to the forefront to a point to where I want to address it more clearly. You know, I've been a member of my local NFB chapter since, I guess, early 2021. I'd never been affiliated with any of the groups, ACB or NFB. But during COVID, like in the fall of 2020, I tuned into the virtual version of the California State Convention. And I was impressed, I guess, paying attention for the first time at all the stuff the NFB is out there fighting for. I'm not saying ACB is not out there doing it. I just haven't experienced it as of yet. But I was really impressed with the stuff that the state chapter, the California edition of the NFB, was out doing fighting for our blind community, and it got me more interested. I ended up joining the local chapter, and our local president, Tiffany Minaj, was a member of our 1993 Thrashers team at the World Series. One of your co-workers now,
Yep.
where you work, but. So the president, Mark Riccobono of the National Federation, does a presidential release every month. And one of the things we do at the end of our meeting each month is listen to that release. And it has become my job as part of the our local chapter to play that. And the very first one that I ever played for the chapter back in is either January or February of 2021. President Riccobono talked about joining forces with a group called RAIN, RAINN. It's an acronym that stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. And the NFB joined forces with them to um, help the organization go through some of the sexual misconduct that doesn't just go on in our blind community overall, but has been going on. There's been incidences at the national convention, and rather than sticking their head in the mud and ignoring it, the national NFB joined forces with RAIN and created an avenue to educate and offer the victims of these situations to um, have an avenue to go down to address this stuff and try to get recognition for what the victims are going through. And I remember after playing that, saying to the local chapter how I was proud of President Riccobono for jumping in and dealing with it head on. And I also said I wish that the National Beat Baseball Association would take a similar approach because I, again, have known not just in the blind community, but at the World Series there is inappropriate touching that goes on. There's probably 8 or 9 men to every 1 or 2 women at the World Series. And pretty much every woman that's attended multiple World Series has experienced some kind of inappropriate touching. Um, I don't know of any cases that have been worse than that, but that's bad enough for me. Like I don't like that. And had I become president, it's something that I was interested in addressing. And frankly, one of the situations that went on at the World Series, by all accounts, started with this. Um, I don't have permission to throw any names, and I think it's still a legal matter. So I guess I'll speak of it in general terms. But there was a married woman who was hanging out with a group of people, and she was touched inappropriately. And when she went and told her husband, he took matters into his own hands and went and addressed the situation in a physical manner, which I understand. And I know I said to you, Seth, like I worry that this is going to be kind of like in sports, like when Somebody takes an action in basketball or football, it's usually the reaction that the referees see and call penalty on. And
Right.
the person who reacted ends up getting called for a foul or a penalty, and the action that started it goes unharmed. And I hope the NBBA doesn't take that approach here, because this started with inappropriate touching. And as I'm hearing, and frankly, this is probably going to have an effect, talking about this, even though I'm not throwing out names, it's going to have an effect on a friendship that I've enjoyed. And I'm disappointed if it takes a bad turn, but I'm also disappointed that this behavior is going on, because I talked to multiple women over the last week who have experienced this inappropriate touching from this same individual. So this wasn't a first time action. And and honestly, I've talked to women who have just experienced this multiple times, period. It's not a problem with this one individual. It's a problem in our league at the World Series. I mean, it probably goes on in the smaller tournaments too, but this is a problem at our World Series. And our own team, because I'm a male coach on an all women's team. Like our own team, one of the first meetings I ever had, we do a Zoom meeting pretty much every Sunday night. One of the first meetings I was part of was our experienced players talking to our young players. We've got a handful of players that are 21 and under. Our experienced players, women players, talking to our young players about, hey guys, you need to protect yourself because this is what goes on. You're going to be bumped into inappropriately. You're going to be touched inappropriately. And the fact that it's such a common thing and we don't talk about it is something that I'm not okay with. And I guess I should have stepped up earlier if I'm going to be big bad voice and start pointing it out. But it's time, just that we talk about it as a membership, but our leadership needs to care about it. Our new president gives himself a lot of credit for having started the women of our league, and it's credit earned because he was the first step in the women of our league. But you want to impress me, take this on now. Take this on the way the NFB took this on. Care about the fact. Don't just penalize the person that laid out an ass whooping on Saturday night. You penalize the person that started it, especially since he's a board member. Inappropriate behavior from a player slash board member should not be ignored or accepted. And frankly, we should put the fear into the other players that where
Well, I
this
would
is going on.
imagine that would
Go
be
ahead.
part of the ethics code, or right, or
Well,
part of
I mean,
that
something,
ethics
and
code.
I
As
have
it
not, yeah, I mean, I'm sure something has been filed. I have no confirmation of that. I have no information of that. I just came out of Saturday night expecting there's going to be stuff filed. The more I didn't know anything, and really, it took me a few days to kind of gather information and start learning whatever. But I have to, once I started learning more and more, I had to assume that things were filed, and that's not going to be like public. But the leadership alone just needs to care whether there's a code of ethics violation filed or not. The leadership should care that this goes on. I literally the same night this individual that started this whole thing by inappropriately touching a married woman, I talked to another woman this week who that the night of the banquet, he tried the same thing with her, but she's seen him do this before, and she put a stop to it, right away. She knew it was coming and put a stop to it, but yeah, it wasn't the only time it was tried that night. And I talked to another woman just last night who told me the night of the banquet, between the banquet and the midnight game, a handful of guys tried to touch her inappropriately. So this isn't something that just this isn't a circumstance that just popped up. This has been going on. It's been going on in the blind community for a long time. I used to be a competitive water skier. I used to compete nationally in water skiing. And in 1989, I went to my first tournament. There's a national tournament held every year in August that I never went to because of the World Series. And then there was another tournament held every October in Orlando that I went to every year for a handful of years. And it was at this big, beautiful resort in Orlando, Florida. I had these condos all over this 80-acre, place that had a man-made lake right in the middle of it where we had the competition. But they had these big, I guess technically I was gonna say hot tub, but they're like jacuzzis because they're built into the ground. So I think those are more considered jacuzzis that could sit like 15, 20 people.
Uh,
And I remember the very last night of that week, I was talking to a woman who was telling me about one of the guys that when they were all sitting around in the tub, like if a woman was sitting down inside the tub, he'd come sit on the edge and he literally was just reaching his hand down and groping breasts, like blatantly, just sticking his hand down, squeezing, taking a look, and pulling his hand back out because no, he did it multiple times because not a single person said a word about it. And I remember being like I was only 21 at the time. I was totally shocked. But over the years, I heard hundreds more stories along the same lines, and some of them coming from the World Series, some of them not. But this is a problem in our blind community. It's a problem in the world. You know what I mean? Men being inappropriate towards women. That's where the Me Too movement, long overdue, got started from because men are inappropriate towards women way, 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 way too often. But it's a problem at our World Series. And if our new president wants to keep patting himself on the back for starting the women of our league, care about them off the field also. Don't just care about you started this exhibition 9 years ago. Care about what they're going through. That it's common for women to be touched inappropriate by our players at the World Series. If we don't start doing something about it, it's not going to stop. Period. Period.
no,
Uh,
and you're like women being inappropriately touched by our players, as you well know, the women are our players, right? And so
Also,
yeah,
yes.
the league should set up an environment that protects them as well, or at least make it clear. And the NFB's problems were a little deeper. Um,
But it's bigger too.
yeah,
We
it's
have
deeper. Right,
we
right,
have
exactly.
500 people at our World Series. I got two,
Right,
3,000 at the convention,
right,
and it's a bigger blend. More
right.
women,
Yeah, yeah. No, and they have different things. They have like their like rehabilitation center stuff like that. But it won't change until somebody, actually decides that it needs to change. And so, um, hopefully Richie's up to the task. Hopefully this whole incident brings notoriety to it, and people can, address it. Guys, dudes can take themselves seriously and be like, man, we can't just do this. But you're right; it does need to be, stamped out or stomped out. I'm sorry, and that really will only come from the top at first, right?
yeah,
And holding people
right,
to account and stuff. And so you're right. In the end, the aggressor is going to pay the higher price here, and pay a steep price, right? Because in the end, violence isn't the answer. Um, but I agree with you 100%. At least, especially in this situation where it is activity that is wholly inappropriate, as opposed to like saying popping off at the mouth or whatever. Um, that activity needs to be punished, right? That it specifically caused the event, um, and so both parties need to be punished. And
yeah.
I would hate to definitely the NFB, the NBBA to let a board member slide. Board members,
Should be
all
held to a
people,
higher
yeah,
standard.
to do it to a higher standard. And it's so I agree. So I agree. And that seemed crazy, man. That did seem like a wild way for all the Saturday night to end. And I know it's disappointing for people because they say, oh, we want to be really competitive, and then well, are we just a bunch of people who just want to get together and party and all this stuff? So, it's tough. It's tough. It's hard to go forward when you have this sort of activity that then brings you back. So,
The St. Louis group in general, the Lighthouse for the Blind and Mindside Radio, like they put a lot of effort into this tournament, and a lot of it's going to be remembered by the end. And I don't know. The leadership has an opportunity to make a statement here, to care. Show me that you care. Richie, if you're a better leader than me, then get off your ass and lead right now. Prove it. Prove you're a better leader than me. If you ignore this, guess what? We're gonna be here on the show talking about it. So you can live with that. So that's all I got. You got anything else, Seth Dog?
no, did you ever hear the video from the championship game?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. So
Uh,
you know,
I've never heard what the wording was, and that of course was another issue at the World Series.
yeah.
Some things at the championship game. So
Yeah, I don't like I don't have I guess
no, I don't have any
I look
information.
for I look
I listened to that video. I didn't hear a word,
no
but I'm deaf. So
I looked for the video, and if I heard it and could speak specifically on what was said and who said it, whatever, I would jump into it.
I was
I
hoping you had. I had
I
hoped you
looked
had
for it.
tracked it down
I looked for it. I couldn't.
I didn't hear a word. I listened to that thing three, four, five
Yeah,
times. I mean, oh, you
yeah,
God.
I looked for it. I never found it. Short of having gone, I would have had to have
Yeah.
gone back and gone through the whole game. Um, I mean, I will say this: it was done in front of like Benji Molina, who was there, the owner of the complex, the fields. Like it was done there. Like I understand people have had feelings about the Archers and how they built their program, but sitting there in front of sponsors and celebrities that came out to watch the game and attacking the Archers the way they've been inappropriately attacked, in my opinion, pretty much all year long. It's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So we'll see how that all plays out. If there's more to share on that somewhere down the road, obviously we'll dive into that also.
Yeah.
Because you know what? TBBS ain't going nowhere, y'all. We here. We here. All right, Seth.
Be
Let's
called Jeff